Everything Went Fine, original title Tout S'en Bien Passe, out in theaters, film based on the autobiographical novel written by Emmanuelle. It stars Sophie Marceau and André Dussolier. At the beginning of the film, Emmanuelle, played by Marceau, is called to a hospital together with his sister because their elderly father, André, has had a stroke. He is now partly paralyzed in one side of his body, has to be treated in the hospital, and initially it seems like his condition is only getting worse. Andre then says to Emmanuelle that he can't take it anymore and he wants to commit suicide and that he requires her help. She is very conflicted about it, which is where the drama in the film comes from. On the one side, she doesn't want her father to die, and she certainly doesn't want to be responsible for it personally. On the other, she can't really say no to him, and she sort of understands the position he is in. And on top of all of that, their relationship has always been strained because Andre is revealed to have been a difficult man, often an outright asshole to the people in his life. And thus begins this interesting exploration of the topic of assisted suicide, the ethics of it, and the philosophical debate of whether people should have access to it, should be able to do that legally, and if so, under what conditions. The most interesting part for me was how the movie made me change my mind a few times over its course. Initially, I was like, yeah, obviously, you should help this man. I mean, he's clearly done with his life. He wants to preserve some dignity instead of living in pain, and that's his choice. And then as he starts to actually get better, and there is a glimmer of hope that he may change his mind, I felt, well, of course, you shouldn't do it. Not now. I mean, it looks like he'll make at least partial recovery and be able to live perfectly fine for years to come, so you should talk him out of it. And then finally at the end I realized, it's his choice at the end. Everyone has a different threshold for what's acceptable and what is unbearable in terms of living conditions, and that individual choice has to be respected. What's also remarkable about the film is how not heavy it seems in terms of the tone. I mean, the subject matter is pretty serious and grim, and at the beginning I was afraid it would just be a 2-hour suffering porn. But it's far from that, actually. There's a lot of levity and weirdly dark humor in the film, not least thanks to Andre's character and the ways in which he sometimes acts like a dick, sometimes like a moron, and sometimes like an immature child. Some of his antics lead to various misadventures and troubles that Emmanuelle and her sister have to deal with. The two leads are very good in terms of the performances. I fully believed they were actual, real people. And yet, there was something missing for me, something preventing the film from greatness. This one element that I could point to and say, look, this is the part that makes it amazing. I struggled to think of one, and despite not having any glaring issues with the film, I found it to not be jaw-dropping in any respect. But I recognize it's a good story, it's told in a competent way, and it raises some really important questions regarding morality and ethics. So I'm sure there will be people who will find that little something for them to connect with and enjoy the film much more than I did. For me, it was decent.